Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of Today in the News. And of course, here on Today in the News, we talk about stories that are trending on the front pages of the newspaper, as well as give you up-to-date reports on what's happening in the country and also outside the country as well. My name is Precious Chukudi and I'll be doing this with my co-host,
Damilola Bushaki.
Dami. How are you this morning?
I'm fine.
All right, we've been seeing all the whole traffic situation of late. What's your take on that one?
I was actually surprised, So I think Monday night is now the one that that yes, there's surely going to be traffic. But sometimes you just be surprised to get to the road. It will be jam-packed, there'll be a gridlock. But sometimes the road will also be free. So I just can't comment. But the road is also the rain, the current weather conditions. Some of them, the roads are really getting spoiled. So I just call on federal government to help with that, and also the state government.
The rain in itself is exposing some of our bad roads. There's a very bad spot that I always get to pass in the morning, and it's not a good one. All right, so let's just move straight to the front pages of the newspaper. We're taking Vanguard, and major headlines for Vanguard is Edo APC's NWC has final say on aspirants' credentials. National Chairman Adams Oshomole is saying that one. And he adds, that's the writer says, Screening Committee, High Court, Appeal Committee, Appeal Court, NWC, Supreme Court. Oshomole sponsoring protest against Obaseki in Abuja. This is said by the Edo Deputy Governor. Also, Obaseki will emerge APC's candidate, says Adamawa's governor, Fitiri. And the court stops APC Oshomole from adopting any method for primaries. Then we have for the story of APC National Chairman Comrade Adam Oshomole inaugurating the Screening and Appeal Committee for Edo State governorship election with all the members of the NWC. Also, beneath we have a 2023 presidency, why Tinubu GAC dissolves a mandate group, Justice Forum, and we have a Tinubu Arebashola denies frosty relationship, why groups were dissolved, says a GAC member. You can see more on that story on page 10 of Vanguard newspaper. We have on the COVID-19 update, Lagos records 170 new cases as confirmed cases rise to 13,464. That's a huge number. On the stories above, we have reps, Southern Middle Belt leaders ask federal government to ban foreign headsmen from Nigeria. You can see more on that story on page 8. And anti-piracy, UN raises Nigerians rating, commenter, Navy and NIMASA. And away from that story, we move straight to the Punch newspaper.
And on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have Oshomole Obaseki extend word to governor's varsity certificate. Contact UI to confirm Obaseki's certificate. APC Chair Director Panel. Tell Nigerians varsity you attended, Edo governor tells predecessor. And you can see more of that on page 2. Also, still on page 2, we have a Taraba killings trial. Activist, lawyer, lampoon Malami over expulsion of killer soldiers. On page 7, we have a Katsina anti-banditry protesters burn Buhari Masari's billboard. And moving on to the stories below the nameplate, we have on page 8, Osun lecturers demand 30 months arrest of half salaries. Tinubu denies fighting Arebashola, Lagos APC bans party groups. You can see more of that on page 12. And on page 4, we have Oguman arraigned for killing physically challenged girl. Also on page 10, we have a Burundi president dies of heart attack at 8:55. Strike, federal government approves health workers hazard allowance, insurance cover. You can see more of that on page 7. And lastly, on the front page of Punch, we have a reps demand probe of Nigerian 77-day detention by Chinese firm. And from the front page of the Punch, we go straight to the Guardian.
And on the Guardian newspaper, we have major headlines: confusion over bid rounds for 57 oil fields. And the writers, we have PPR assures investors of fairness, and Niger Delta demands right of first refusal. The stories beneath, we have a refugee crisis in Nigeria, Cameroon, 8 others, world's most neglected. You can see more on that story on page 3. And on page 3 still, we have Lawan decries diversion of ecological funds. El-Rufai urges proper management. And also on page 4, again, Bajabi Amila opposes estimated bill for electricity consumers. And lastly, on The Guardian, we have dons to screen certificates of Obaseki, 5 others. You can see more on that story on page 30 of The Guardian newspaper. Away from The Guardian, we move straight to The Nation newspaper.
And on the front page of The Nation, we have a Lagos APC bans a mandate, Justice Forum over groups, grouping inimical to unity, say party elders. And there's a statement here, it reads, all groups like JF and MG are inimical to unity and are hereby permanently disbanded and prohibited within the party. Any violation of this decision is subject to party discipline, including suspension and expulsion. The party remains supreme. And you can see more of that on the front page of The Nation and also on page 8. And moving on to other stories above the nameplate, we have estimated billing, NERC to punish Eko, Ikeja, Discos, and others. You can see more of that on page 25. On page 3, we have Nemasa, pirates working with foreign allies, UN hails President, Agency, and also Navy. Nigerian records highest COVID-19 cases, NCDC announces 663. You can see more of that on page 5. And on the story below, we have Edo 2020, Obaseki, Izeyamu, other phase screening panels. NWC's decision final, says Shomole. Ondo 2020, APC begins sale of farms. And inside The Nation, we have Ondo as a unique intervention with traders ignore face masks. Oni gives Abia 2 fumigators. El-Rufai relaxes lockdown. NCDC okays Akwa Ibom lab. And lastly, Wike declares a Boni epicenter. And we can see more of that on pages 6 and 29. And that's all we have on the front page of The Nation. And from here, we move straight to this day newspaper.
And on this day newspaper, we have major headlines. INEC fixes June 2nd and June 27th for parties' primaries in a dual governorship election. State insists on compliance with Gazette on political gatherings. My certificate duly earned, says Obaseki. APC inaugurates screening and appeal committees. Also, WTO ignores Egypt, accepts Okonjo-Iweala nomination as DG. Ex-minister emerges a front runner in leadership race. And stories beneath, we have federal government to exclude salaries of IPPIS non-compliance workers from 2021 budget. Stories above, we have 7 discos face next sanction over uncapped estimated bill, and agency gives electricity distributors 14 days to defend breach. And lastly, we have with 663 new infections, Nigeria records high COVID-19 cases in one day. And that's all we have for you on the front pages of the newspaper. We're moving straight to the newspaper analysis segment, where we're going to be discussing some of the stories on the front pages of the newspaper. Remember that you can equally like, share, subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. And of course, you can also create a watch party and let us know what you think about some of the top stories on the front pages of the newspaper in the comment section. We'll be right back after this break. All right, welcome back. And if you're just joining us, it's still today in the news where we read and analyze all the top stories on the front pages of the newspaper. My name is Precious Chukudi and I'm doing this with my co-host.
Damdola Udushaku.
All right, so let's move straight to the front page of Vanguard. And Edo APC NWC has final say on aspirants' credentials. The national leaders of the APC has set up a committee to screen its 6 governorship aspirants in Edo State, saying without prejudice to the work of the committee and that of the screening appeal panel, the National Working Committee NWC has the final say on the fate of the aspirants. Also, the crisis in the All Progressive Congress APC in Edo State has increased with the deputy governor, that's Mr. Philip Shuaibu, accusing the national chairman of the party, Comrade Adams Oshomole, of instigating and sponsoring protests in Abuja against Governor Godswill Obaseki over alleged certificate forgery. You know, and we have Obaseki coming out saying that his certificate has been, was duly earned. It's a funny situation going on in Edo State, the back and forth. There's no peace yet, and the elections are coming close. We don't know what exactly is going on in the APC party. All right, so do you have more stories for us, Tammy?
Yes, I have the stories on the protesters burned an APC Buhari's billboard in Castina community. Angry youths yesterday shot on Castina, Kankara Highway and other journey roads at Yakumaki in the Damusa local government area of Castina State, following the spate of kidnapping and killings by bandits in the area. This came on a day Zamfara state government asked all internally displaced persons to return to the respective villages, saying that troops of the military would be deployed to the communities to secure them from bandits. Also, the protesters in Castina burnt down the billboards of President Muhammadu Buhari and the ruling party the ruling party APC in the town over the latest abduction of 2 persons in the town. The protesters lamented the adoption of Yusuf and his daughter barely 9 days after the traditional ruler of Yakumaki, Abubakar Atiku, 65, was shot dead by gunmen at his residence, while his security guard, who narrowly cheated death in the attack, is still fighting for his life in an undisclosed hospital. The spokesman of the Castina State Police Command, Gambo Issa, a superintendent of police who confirmed the protest, assured that normalcy had since been restored by the police and other security agents in the town of Castina, the town of Yakumaki, Castina.
Such a sad one there. And moving on, we have Tinubu denies fighting Arebeshola, Lagos APC Bonds Group. And so the All Progressive Congress Lagos chapter has dissolved all subgroups within the party. And the Mandate Group and Justice Forum, regarded as the powerful subgroup in the party, were outlawed by the APC. Now, the decision is coming 2 weeks after the Minister of Interior, Rauf Arebeshola, reorganized the Mandate Group without the endorsement of the national leader of the party, that's Bola Tinubu. And the relationship between the two is said to be getting very frosty, which may have contributed to the dissolution of all the subgroups within the Lagos APC. But both of them have also come out to say that nothing is going on between them and they have a perfect relationship going on. But it's a function of you say something and then we're saying another different thing. What are you doing? So the APC party needs to really fix what is going on with the leaders, with the national chairman, with the aspirants and everything. It's a very strong issue going on around there. You have more stories for us?
Yes, it's a story of the herdsmen. Some days ago, there's Governor Ganduje demanded that the federal government to stop migration of foreign herdsmen into Nigeria. Now, the House of Representatives has also said the same thing, as well as Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum. Yesterday, they asked the federal government to stop the entry of herdsmen from other African countries into Nigeria, and consequently, the House also mandated its committees on police affairs, army and interior to interface with the Inspector General of Police, the Chief of Army Staff, and Controller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service on the best way of policing and securing the country's borders. Moving the notion, the minority leader Elumelu said the House noted that in recent years, herdsmen have been on rampage, destroying farms, farmlands, burning villages, and killing innocent Nigerians discriminately in many states across the Federation. He noted that security agents in the country had consistently stated that the herdsmen were not Nigerians but migrants from other African countries. So they are demanding that the herdsmen should be stopped from entering Nigeria from other African countries.
All right, so let's take some comments on the page, and this one is from Modum Donatus. He says, "I'm ashamed of Oshomole. So he knew all this and still employed Obaseki for 8 years, after which he rigged him in as governor." All right, so we'll take this one from Joseph Chukuma Omoko. He says, "It is so unfortunate that the Reverend APC chairman could not contain his state political family for a single term. I wonder Oyegun's thoughts now, just wondering." And then we take this one from Muyiwa Don Self Oni. He says, "I am devastated as regards the crisis rocking Edo State APC. Adams Oshomole, I expect you to be more mature in handling these issues rather than making APC a laughing stock. I once worked with you in the textile industry and I know how you handled cases maturely. Please do the needful." All right, so that's what people are saying on Oshomole APC Obaseki crisis going on. So we move on to this one. That's Rep charges IG to probe Nigerian 77 days detention by Chinese firm. So the House of Representatives has called on the Inspector General of Police, that's Mohammed Adamu, to investigate a Chinese firm based in Edo State for allegedly detaining its Nigerian workers against the COVID-19 regulation. The workers were alleged to have been confined to the firm facility since March 24th, 2020. The House also called on the Federal Ministry of Health and the Nigerian Center for Disease Control to be alert to the health status of the affected workers. It's a very sad situation. I mean, we've heard of how much some Chinese firms mistreat Nigerians working with them. Now, to keep workers working in your office since 24th of March up till now, it's a very sad one.
Very, very
and it
sad.
should really be looked into, because these people are human beings and they have families. This was a situation of whereby people were asked to go be with their families and ensure that they reduce the spread of the virus. Now, keeping these people in enclosed places working when people were, all sectors were being shut down, and they were hearing that this firm, they were still working using Nigerians, it must be really looked into. And
Really
also,
looked into, because something like this, I think it's not supposed to be happening in Nigeria.
It's
Looking
not.
at how this, definitely, you can't do this to their own citizens in their own country. So what are you telling me? You're saying that this is happening in Nigeria. I think we really need to look into this.
yes, it's a very sad one.
Very sad.
Because we expect that the government would give rules and and guidelines and regulations that people would adhere to. Why is a Chinese firm operating? Why were they operating during the period
The
of
government
lockdown?
gave their rules, but I guess they just chose to follow
I
their
think
own.
they need to
They
be
just
fined.
they didn't follow the guidelines. So yes, they really need
They
to be
need to
fined
be
for this.
fined, and the people who are responsible for this need to be punished. These things cannot go unpunished. It's not fair.
Because if
And
they go
yes,
unpunished, definitely it's going to be repeated another time. So they really need to be punished and fined for this.
all right.
Really.
So that's all we can take on the front pages of the newspaper. Remember to keep your comment coming. And what's your take on the Chinese firm that has been open since, has been running their businesses since before the lockdown, even up till now? What is your own thoughts about that? Let us know in the comment section, as we want to read that as well. Let's move on to this very interesting one we always look out for.
Mr.
That's Mr. and Mrs. And today, Mrs. is speaking. She says, you are here drinking aphrodisiac when your mates are out there making money. If I see that local health vendor in this vicinity again, I will throw her and her wares out on the streets. And Mr. says, if the people of Madagascar behave this way, you think they would have found the cure for coronavirus? Well, it's true, considering the fact that the people of Madagascar were looking into providing their own, cure for coronavirus, and also even giving it out to other African countries and saying, okay, you should try this one, and all this kind of things. That's why they're saying Nigerians and most prominent people in the country have been calling on us to look inwards and say, see, this coronavirus cure, we can have it in this country. We have herbs for this, we have herbs for that. We can also find herbs for, curing the virus.
I think they're still going through, they're still screening some of the herbs that were submitted, to the NCDC, to check them and see how we can find cure in Nigeria. Yeah, so I think it's a good one from Mr. and Mrs. this morning.
Exactly. All right, so that's all we can bring for you on the morning show this morning. And remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. And if you want to find out more of our top stories, there are a lot of very interesting stories, human interest stories that you will need to read and see how the minds of people are working. You can equally go on our website www.fankandngr.com to find out more on that stories, and also find out more of what's going on in the ABC party. There's a lot to discover. You can go on our website and find out. And remember to stay clean, stay hydrated, wash your hands. Coronavirus is still in the country and the cases are increasing. I mean, we've passed the 13,000 benchmark. It shows that there's a lot of community increase. So you have to ensure that you are taking preventive measures. Until we come your way next time, I remain Precious Chukudi, and I'm with my co-host
Damla.
Thank you for watching.